My 30s are swiftly approaching. They are barreling towards me at speeds that frighten me, quite frankly, and I have complicated feelings about that. Mostly positive. I think that aging is a privilege, and I'm excited to do so, of course. But also, I can't believe I've been on this earth for just shy of 30 years. That feels weird. I'll be turning 30 in October this year, and I thought it'd be fun to give myself a list of 30 series to read in my 30s. Give myself a decade to hopefully finish all these. Over the last few years, my reading has gradually shifted from almost entirely YA, fantasy, and sci-fi to now being predominantly adult fantasy and sci-fi. And in the last little bit, I've slowly been getting into more epic, like really chunky fantasy and sci-fi, and I really enjoy those, but I do need some kind of motivation to get me to pick those up because they're huge usually. So yeah, I thought it'd be fun to make a little list of 30 series that I would like to get to at some point over the next decade of my life. The majority of them are quite chunky, dense, epic fantasy and sci-fi. Some of them are a little bit shorter just to give me a bit of a break, but mostly big chunky books. So let's get into the books. I'll start with the series that I've already started, and of course I'm not going to go into big long synopses about all of these because I'd be here forever in that case, but just to at least briefly introduce everything. So of the ones that I've already started, I would like to continue on with Robin Hobb, the entirety of Realm of the Elderlings, not just the first series. I think the series is like, what, 5 or 6 trilogies, something like that. I think there's like 16 books, give or take. I don't actually know, but I would like to read all of them. I have read the first book in this series and I loved it, but that was sometime, I think, last year, and I've yet to pick up book 2. It is on my TBR for this month, but that's probably not going to happen. I am planning on reading it very soon, but I'm definitely not going to read the entire Realm of the Elderlings before I turn 30 in like a month and a half, but I would like to read the rest of this series at some point in the next 10 years. The Southern Reach series by Jeff Vandermeer, I read book 1 recently and really enjoyed it. I'm not sure if this series is completed or not. I think there are more books on the way, or that there's been rumored to be. I'm not really sure. I think it was originally supposed to be a trilogy and there are now more than 3 books, so who knows what's happening after that. But I really liked this book and I would like to carry on with it at some point, hopefully very soon. The Gentleman Bastard series by Scott Lynch. I read book 1 also very recently, just a few months ago I think, and I adored this book. I thought it was phenomenal. I don't think it was quite a 5-star, but it was very close to it. This was such a good book and I am so excited to read the rest of this series. Same thing, I don't know if it's completed or not. I've heard that there's going to be more books in the series or that the author has mentioned it before, but I don't think anything is confirmed. So this is both a hope for me to finish what's published so far, but also hopefully the series will be finished at some point in the next 10 years. Red Rising by Pierce Brown. Also read this one very recently. I read the first book sometime over the summer. I forget when it was, but it was recently, and this book was incredible, and I've heard it only gets better from here. This is my friend's all-time favorite series, and I was going to be in some trouble if I did not like it. But luckily, I did. I loved it and I'm desperate to continue it. I just need to actually get around to it. So hopefully that one happens very soon. Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice. I read the first book almost 2 years ago now actually, and I've yet to continue on with the series. I intended to read 1 book a year, but last year that did not happen. So hopefully I'll read 2 this year and then go back to continuing on with 1 book a year. I think there are 12 books in this series. So if I manage to do that, then I should finish this by the time that I turn 40, which sounds crazy. And I think the last for the ones that I've already started is The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. This one I read in July and also loved it. This first book was 4.5 stars for me and I can't wait to continue it. This is also that same friend's other favorite series, and I again would have been in some big trouble if I didn't like it, but luckily I loved it and I really want to continue on with the series. I think my friend and I are planning on buddy reading this entire series over the next year in a bit, probably more than that. Probably will take us more like 2 years, but that is just fine with me. I can't wait to find out what happens next in this series. Moving on to the series that I have not started yet, and also speaking of Samantha Shannon, I would also like to read the entirety of the Roots of Chaos series, the first one being Priory of the Orange Tree. I did try and read this book years ago. This was one of the very first adult epic fantasies that I ever tried to read during the time where I was still only reading YA, and that was a poor choice. This is not a first-time epic fantasy pick. So I DNF'd it after about 100 pages or so, but that was maybe like 6 or 7 years ago, so I'll of course restart the book from page 1. But I do think that now I'm going to really love this one, and I'll be reading this one for a vlog where I retry books that I previously DNF'd. I've already done one video like that, so if you want to check that out, I'll link it down below, but this one will hopefully be in the next video like that. Now, this is going to be very ambitious of me, but I would like to read the entirety of the Cosmere by Brandon Sanderson. Will that happen in 10 years? I think it could if I didn't want to read 29 other series that are also very large, but I'm going to say that I can do it. I hope that I can do it. I would like to, but just given how incredibly large this series is on top of everything else that I want to read, I don't know if I'll actually finish it in 10 years. I've yet to even start it, so we'll see about that, but fingers crossed that I can do it. Wish me luck there. I'd like to read the Dandelion Dysnasty by Ken Liu, the first book being The Grace of Kings. I've heard the series is devastating and I like to cry, so that sounds great. Honestly, this entire video so far is all books that are going to make me cry. I think mostly at least, but this is one of the ones that I'm most excited about. I recently purchased the first book because I want to get to it really soon. So I think this one's going to be my next epic fantasy adventure. The Broken Earth Trilogy by N.K. Jemisin, the first book being the 5th season. Honestly, I want to read everything by N.K. Jemisin, but especially this series is the one that I think I'm going to love the most. I've only read a couple things from this author so far. I've read the City We Became duology and a short story collection. I forget what it's called, but I've loved all 3 of those books that I've read from this author so far, and I know that I'm going to absolutely adore this series whenever I happen to get to it. The Burning series by Evan Winters, the first book being The Rage of Dragons. So far, there are only 2 books out. The 3rd book is supposed to come out sometime this year, but there's not even a cover for it yet, so I don't know if that's actually happening. And book 4, who knows when that's going to happen, but fingers crossed it'll be sometime in the next 10 years because I would like to read it by that time. I've also heard this series is absolutely devastating and I'm so here for that. Now this one, I'm just putting this on here so that I can manifest it and hope that it actually happens. The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss, the Kingkiller Chronicles. I think the longtime fans of this have been waiting like what, almost 20 years roughly, like 15-ish years for the last book to come out, and there's not even any news for it, and I've yet to start the series because I want to have at least some kind of news for the last book before I pick it up because I don't want to have to suffer and wait. But I do very badly want to start the series, so hopefully sometime in the next 10 years we'll have an update and then I can finally start the series. Another ambitious one, but Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. I tried reading this series when I was a teenager. Poor choice. That was not the right time to be reading that, but I think now I would probably very much enjoy it. So I do want to try it again now that I read more adult fantasy and can probably handle things a lot better. It was a little bit too gruesome for me at the wee age of like 15. I should not have been reading that young, but I tried it, didn't work out, but adult me, I think, would really enjoy it. The Books of Babel series by Josiah Bancroft, the first one being Silent Ascends. I've had this book on my shelf for so long and it's been on my TBR every month since April because I'm reading it for a vlog where I read the books that I took out of my unhaul pile before I moved. This and The Lies of Locke Lamora had been in my unhaul pile for so long I just hadn't gotten around to getting rid of them, but right before I moved I decided to rehaul them and now I'm making myself read them to figure out if they were actually worth moving with, and I just haven't done that yet. It'll happen soon. I'm hoping this month. It's probably not going to be, but maybe in September. We'll see how that goes. Either way, I'll at least be starting this series very soon, and we'll see how long it takes me to get to the rest of the books in the series. I would like to get to both The Faithful and the Fallen and Of Blood and Bone series by John Gwynne. I recently read the Bloodsworn Saga and absolutely adored it. I thought it was phenomenal, and now I want to read everything else by this author as well. I know these 2 series are already completed, and there is a new series starting as well, so we'll just chuck that in there as a little bonus. I love his writing. It's so good, and I've heard that the other 2 series that he has are even better than the one that I read, so I can't wait to find out about those ones. The Chronicles of Castellane by Cassandra Clare. I have been a huge fan of Cassandra Clare since I was maybe 13 or 14, something like that, but I've only ever read her in the Shadowhunters world, and I was so hyped for Swordcatcher when it was first coming out. I had it pre-ordered, I already have book 2, and yet I have not picked them up yet. So at some point in the next 10 years, I would like to start this series. Ideally finish it, that would be nice. I'm not sure if the series is still ongoing or not, but I'll figure that out once I pick up this book. The Invoker Trilogy by M.H. Ayinde, maybe? I'm not sure how to say the name. The first book is A Song of Legends Lost. I've heard not many people talking about this, but the ones that I have, it sounds incredible, and I think I'm going to love this one. This book definitely has not gotten the amount of hype that it should have, but it does have fantastic reviews, so I'm looking forward to this one whenever I happen to pick it up, which will hopefully again be soon, but will definitely be in the next decade at least. The Greenbone Saga by Fonda, the first one being Jade City. I want to read this series so bad. It's one of those ones that I have been wanting to read since I heard about it, which at this point was probably 5 or 6 years ago that I heard about it, but I just was too intimidated by it to read it then. And for sure, at the time that it came out, I would not have liked it. I was not ready to read fantasy or sci-fi like that just yet, but now I am, and I want to pick it up. It sounds incredible. I've heard nothing but amazing things about it. Everyone raves about this series, and I want to see what all the hype is about. Children of Time by Adrian Tchaikovsky. Again, this one is a classic, and I've heard nothing but amazing things about it. I really had no idea what this series is about, and I still don't really, to be honest, but I have heard that there is a space spider, and I like that. So I want to read it. The Suneater series by Christopher Ruocchio. This one sounds so good as well. The first book is Emperor of Silence. This one has gotten so much hype, and from what I've heard, for very good reason. I mean, currently on Storygraph, it has over 12,000 reviews and has managed to maintain a nearly 4-star average, which is incredible. Hopefully I'll be one of the ones who love it as much as everybody else does. The Tainted Cup series by Robert Jackson Bennet. I believe this series has just concluded. I'm not sure if there's going to be a fourth book or not, but book 3 just recently came out, or it's about to come out, one of the two. This one sounds really fun. I'm not a huge fan of mysteries usually, but in this context, this series sounds really interesting, so I do want to at least give it a shot and see how I feel about it. I'd love to read the Temeraire series by Naomi Novik. I had no idea how long this series was until right now. I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was like maybe 5 books. I did not expect 8. I love Naomi Novik. I've read a couple of her books, and I also love dragons, so that sounds like a good match for me. The Nameless Republic by Suyi Davies Okumboa, the first book being Son of the Storm. I've had this book on my TBR since 2023 and I've yet to get to it, but I think I would like it a lot more now than I would have back then, so I think I was just kind of waiting for the perfect time, and I think that time is upon us. Not right this second because my TBR is full, but at some point, hopefully soon, that'll happen. A lot of the other booktubers that I watch and love have adored this series, and I really want to be in the know with this one. The Locked Tomb by Tamsin Muir, the first book being Kitty and the Ninth. Everyone and their mother has talked about this book. Everyone seems to have read it except for me. I know nothing about the series aside from the lesbian necromancers in space tagline, which that just sounds delightful to me. I've heard this series is very twisty and confusing and just strange, and I love that. So hopefully I will both like it and also understand it. The African Immortal series by Tanner Reeve Dew, the first one being My Soul to Keep. I've also had this book on my TBR for a couple of years, but I've yet to pick it up. I've heard incredible things about this author in general. I haven't read anything by her at all, and that is a problem. I definitely need to pick up many of her books, but especially this series is the one that I have my eye on the most. The Rages trilogy by Kritika H. Rao, the first one being The Surviving Sky. This series has been on my TBR since 2024, and it just sounds so interesting to me. I don't hear too many people talking about it, but I'm just so intrigued by this series, especially because of the covers. They're all so beautiful and just look really funky, and I want to know what's going on. So I can't wait to get to this one at some point soon. Between Earth and Sky by Rebecca Roanhorse, the first one being Black Sun. This is one of those series that I've had on my TBR for quite a while, but I've been so intimidated by it, partially because it's just a lot more of a dense book that I was reading at the time that I heard about this one, but also because everyone loves this series so much and I'm scared to not like it. But from everything that I've heard about it, I'm sure that I'm going to love it. The Inheritance Cycle by Christopher Paolini. I never read Aragon. I don't know how I managed to not do that. I've been a fantasy reader pretty much my entire life. I started like seriously reading when I was like 9, so that would have been in 2005, which was around the time when this series was being published, and yet I somehow just completely missed this one and I've yet to pick it up. Also was unaware that this was a 5-book series. I thought it was 3 books, but sounds good to me. This one is YA, but it is a classic, so I do want to pick it up at some point. And finally, the 30th series that I want to get to in my 30s is the Earthsea Cycle by Ursula K. Le Guin. I haven't read anything by this author, but she is a classic fantasy author, one of the founders of everything that I love, so I would love to get into her books and see what all the hype is about. I've heard amazing things about it, and I can't wait to fall in love with it at some point in the next 10 years. So there we have it. Those are the 30 series that I want to get to in my 30s. Wish me luck. This is so many books and so many pages. I could probably read only these series and that would take me 10 years, not including everything else that I want to read that's not part of these 30 series. But I can't wait to see how far I can get in the next 10 years and all of the wonderful stories that I managed to find myself in. I'm looking forward to getting older for many reasons, but largely because it just means more time to spend with my books. But if you've read any of these series, let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts on them, and if you have any other suggestions for me to add on to that, also let me know. I am, of course, down to read more than 30 series in the next 10 years, but that'll do it for this time. So thank you as always for watching. I appreciate you. Hope you're having a great day, and I'll catch you in the next one.